cleaning in a sustainable, eco-friendly, zero-waste way, whatever you want to call it, has always been important to me, and I've talked a bit about that over the years. But more recently, it's become even more important to me to be very specific about things I'm using, when I'm using them, what I'm doing, because my little baby, Tippy, recently got diagnosed with asthma. And we've removed a lot of scented things from our home because of our personal experience with them. Recently, it's become really important to me to be very specific about what we're using and to make sure that it's okay for him, because he is currently on an inhaler 2 to 3 times a day. The inhaler is not cheap. It's nearly $200 a month for him. And I'm really just trying to do everything I can to better his life because he is 11 and he's my baby. So yeah, eco-friendly, sustainable, clean, green, natural, whatever words you want to use, has always been important to me, but it's even more now. And I wanted to make a video about some of the things that I've done in my home to better it for him. And then I just thought, well, let's just do an updated cleaning tips, hacks, things I use, things I do, habits, and all those sort of things, so that I can help anybody out there who's trying to create an eco-friendly cleaning routine. So the first thing I have to tell you is that I'm awful with routines. If there's one thing about me, anytime I'm put on a medicine regime, I have to take a medication for a certain amount of time, or I'm trying to implement something new into my, anything that surrounds routines, immediately I'm please no, anything else. I'm so bad with routines. But when it comes to cleaning, it's actually something that I'm pretty good at, because clutter and things building and piling up really causes anxiety for me. And I think the most important thing surrounding an eco-friendly cleaning routine is to do it on a regular basis, to have a routine. The reason I say this is because the reason that we ever really need to use harsh cleaners that can be bad for our health, for our homes, for the ecosystem, is typically when we let things pile up. I don't have to use anything harsh in my house because on a regular routine, I'm wiping things down. I don't need bleach, because nothing really gets to the point where that would be necessary. And the way you go about this can look different for absolutely everyone, what your cleaning routine looks like. So if you have one, let us know in the comments. The only thing that's really a non-negotiable that I do in my life is before I go upstairs to go to bed, because basically we live downstairs and we sleep upstairs. So before we go to bed, 5 to 10 minutes decluttering the house, making sure everything is put in its place, wiping down things that need to be wiped down. It doesn't take long at all, but then when I wake up in the morning, I'm not walking downstairs to stuff that's going to stress me out. For other people, I've heard they do it room by room, certain days are certain rooms. I've also seen people do certain days and certain chores, but I feel whatever that system is for you, finding it and doing it regularly is going to help us maintain a home that doesn't need harsh cleaners, because that's the #1 thing I'm trying to avoid, for the way that those chemicals can impact the ecosystem, and also how they can impact our health, our baby's health, whether that's human or furry friend. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but I hope whoever does is watching this video right now. You don't need 12 cleaning products for your house. Walking into the cleaning aisle at any big box store here in the US is terrifying, both in the fact that there's just tons of plastic and tons of chemicals and tons of fragrance, all of which are not good for us. We're not meant to be exposed to highly concentrated things like that. And I don't use the word chemicals lightly.
It's terrifying, yeah.
But there are things in those cleaning products that are not good for us. That's why there are warnings all over them. Not to ingest them, not to use them around young kids, animals, all those sort of things. They're not great for us. And so whoever needs to hear that, you don't need 12 cleaning products. And I think as you approach a more sustainable, frugal, green and clean, you just have to throw that idea out the window, that each different room in your house, each different fixture in your house needs a specific cleaner. Especially if you're already implementing tip #1, then you're not gonna be needing a bunch of different cleaners, and you won't need any harsh cleaners either. Personally, for me, I have found over the years that having 4 main ingredients, you can clean almost anything: baking soda, vinegar, sometimes citric acid, and or a lemon. But if you clean often and you don't think you need 12 different cleaners and you have those 4 ingredients, you can do nearly anything with it. And those are the bases which you should build your sustainable cleaning routine off of. And since I'm not typically a DIY girly, I don't like to make my own things. If you're going to be buying products, I definitely think that waterless formulas or concentrated formulas are more eco-friendly, because the carbon footprint of shipping water all around the world, because most of those cleaning products that I was talking about at the aisle at Target that are completely wrapped in plastic, they're also 90% water. We are wasting so much energy, emissions, room on a ship or a plane or however it's being shipped, shipping water all around the world. So if you're going to buy something that you are going to use to clean your home, concentrated formulas, waterless formulas, where you can add the water that you probably have in your home already, that's also a more eco-friendly thing to do. When it comes to air purification, I'm obviously a big fan of plants, but plants, just like regular plants on their own, is not doing enough to clean the air in your house. Every time my dad comes over here, he's like,
"You really think you need more oxygen, don't you? You sure have a lot of oxygen in here."
He loves to make that joke. Realistically, when Tippy got diagnosed with asthma, the first thing my vet told me to do was get an air purifier, and that's one of the first things I did when I came home. And I also got an air monitor so that I could track the VOCs, volatile organic compounds, PM, particulate matter 1, 2.5, and 10, and a few other things that are on this air monitor that I really am keeping track of because it helps his asthma. So air purifiers are important. I also do think plants are important, but specifically there are some brands out there that are creating plants that can absorb more of those pollutants out of our home, like VOCs. So my air purifier focuses on particulate matter. What's also really interesting is that monitoring my air quality with all the things I got after Tippy got asthma, I can see the times of day that the particulate matter and the volatile organic compounds are going higher. Because I live in a city that naturally is just polluted, I live in an urban area, rush hour, it spikes. Also weirdly around 1 a.m. I've done some research on that. It has to do with the pressure of the air and the temperatures, and I don't know. But the point is, I can see when VOCs and particulate matter are going up in my house, and obviously I want to avoid that and do as much as I can to clean the air in here for myself. Like, I also care about this for me, but it became really important, obviously, when I'm caring for something else. So enter the conversation, Neo plants, which is today's sponsor. These plants are fascinating. If you love science, you're gonna love this, because this plant is not like all my other plants. It is a Neo plant, which is made by some of the smartest bioengineers out there to absorb more toxins in our homes, specifically volatile organic compounds, which I will from here on out call them VOCs. I'm gonna read you specifically how this works instead of just telling you it's a cool bioengineered thing that will help clean the air in your house. Neoplants created these things called power drops. The power drops contain a mixture of nutrients and specifically engineered bacteria. Those bacteria are designed to live in soil and on the roots of the marble queen pothos. When you add the power drops to the plant's soil, they activate and nourish the microbiome, and these bacteria are specifically chosen for their ability to metabolize VOCs, which means they can literally break down these harmful compounds. And as the bacteria consume the VOCs, they transform these pollutants into substances like sugars, amino acids, which can be used by the plant. This symbiotic relationship enhances the plant's ability to purify the air. VOCs specifically come from things that are already in our home, things like carpet, paint, furniture, like laminated wood, those sort of things. And this specific plant microbiome makes it 30 times more effective of purifying the air in your home. And those are the benefits of having this nifty little helper helping you clean your air in your home. But to make matters even better, if you're not like the best plant parent, the water here they have that's made from recycled plastic is self-watering. You can actually fill, I don't know if you can see it because my marble queen is a queen. She is flourishing, but there's a little monitor here that tells me when the water is high and when it's low and when I need to put more into her little reservoir. If you're interested in getting yourself your own little air cleaner, and we can be twinsies, you can head to neoplants.com/Shelbizleee and they'll give you a free month extra of the power drops when you order. So we love her. She sits over there by my entryway and I'm obsessed. So speaking of clean air, I have sworn off synthetic fragrances in my home for a long time. It all started because actually my mom and my aunt used to love to burn incense, and I always noticed I would get a headache. And so I just stopped using things with scents for the most part. I don't do the plugins, I don't do like diffusers, I don't do any of that stuff. But there was a point in my life where I dabbled in essential oils. I feel like if you're a crunchy person, we've all dabbled in that area. I also found out that those are not good for cats, so we don't do that in our home. And another tip that I would recommend you avoid is paraffin wax candles, because paraffin wax is literally made from petroleum, and when you burn those things, and you know, as the wax in the candle disappears, it's being dispersed into the air in your home, and it's not great for you. From my personal experience too, it's like once you stop bringing those things in your home, once you stop putting them into the air in your home, and then you enter someone else's home who is doing those things, it's immediate. The way I can feel it in my, I guess my respiratory system, but more like here in my sinuses, and also immediately, I almost within 10 minutes of being in a space that has synthetic fragrance in it, I get a headache. And it's so funny because when my family comes over, they'll like bring their own bathroom spray.
Well, it's better than smelling, you know, whatever you're doing in the bathroom, and I'm like...
I mean, or we could just close the door and turn on the exhaust fan and not have all of these things mixing together, which honestly, like, I don't want to smell either one of those things, you know? So no, none of that is happening in our house, and I would suggest that as you're adopting a more sustainable, like, cleaning routine, you don't add in any of those things that are really not great. Okay, and I wouldn't say that I'm like really good at cleaning my home, like actually scrubbing things and keeping things like spotless. Although my mom complains about my sister's house, but she's never complained about mine. So if you pass the mom test, I feel like you're doing good. But the thing I know I'm good at is keeping the house clutter-free. I am a stickler for the house being clutter-free, and that mainly started when I realized how much clutter impacted my anxiety. Here are my best tips for that. Number one, have a decluttering area. There's a dedicated space in your home, no matter if it's a box in a closet, if it's under your sink, if you have a garage, that's a good place. It's where we keep ours. Just one dedicated area. I have a basket that everything goes in. When that gets full, there's no negotiating. It needs to go to wherever it needs to go. I'll take different things from my Buy Nothing group to donate to thrift stores, shelters, women's shelters, free food fridges. Sometimes we have snacks that we're getting rid of. I just take it to one place and it works so well, and it might seem like a no-brainer, but it changed my life. And the second thing is to declutter regularly. We usually do a garage clean out once a year because it's easy for things to just pile up in there, especially with things that we thrift for camping or for day pack things, picnics. Also house projects. I have like tiles in there that I've been meaning to get started on a mosaic project forever. And making sure that I'm going through my garage at least once a year also makes sure that I can actually use my garage, because there are not many people in my family who use their garage actually for their vehicle, which with the increased frequency of hailstorms in Austin, Texas, is a necessity to put our car in the garage. I think just decluttering maybe quarterly and making sure that things aren't piling up is so important. But the more important thing, I think, is making sure when you're decluttering things that you're making a serious mental note of what you're decluttering and why, so that we can prevent the clutter in the future. Does that make sense? And I also think like those two are very complementary of each other. If you know that you're going to be decluttering regularly, you're much more conscious when you're bringing something in. And if you're bringing things in, if you're more conscious about that, then you're less likely to have more things to declutter. Another big tip that's like one of the life-changing things that I implemented that now seems so obvious to me, but that at some point in my life it wasn't, is making sure everything has a place. And on my checklist of ways to talk myself out of buying things, where something is going to go is often the thing that talks me out of buying something. And obviously on this channel, we are an anti-consumerism channel. And so I think it's really important to declutter regularly, to have a clutter-free space, but also to buy less because of the impact of the things that we buy on the environment before we ever buy them, okay? Don't make me give you my spiel again. If you haven't heard that spiel, you should probably hit the subscribe button. You might be new here. So everything has to have a place. If it doesn't have a place, you need to make a place for it or question what its purpose is if it doesn't have a place, right? I found that that works really well for me. Let me know if that's worked for you. And I can't talk about decluttering without talking about your Buy Nothing group. If you haven't heard me say this before, like only 1 to 2 out of every 10 items donated to a thrift store actually get resold. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I personally think the best way to make sure that the things that you're decluttering aren't ending up in a landfill is to actually give them to someone else who wants them. And listen, it's 2024. We live in a world where it is easier than ever to find someone to match your belongings with. I personally swear by my Buy Nothing group. I love to meet my neighbors. I love to build community. I love to make sure things aren't going to landfill, and I love to participate in anti-consumerism. All of those things that combined in a Buy Nothing group. I am a Buy Nothing group evangelist. Get on it. But if your Buy Nothing group is so-so, I know that I live in an area where mine is really good, and I don't take that for granted at all. But I know it's not everybody's situation. So even just posting things for free on Facebook, people will come get, no matter what it is. Okay, I made a table. I made like a table display for my birthday for the food. I used a pillow from a thrift store and a piece of cardboard, and I glued the clouds onto that cardboard, and it was like, It was so long. It was cool. But once you take all the food out of it, there are just these random holes and this piece of cardboard with like cotton fluff on top of it. And it's like, what the hell am I gonna do with this? But I put it on Facebook for free and someone came and got it within 15 minutes. Like there's someone out there who wants the things you have, and actually giving them to someone, by the way, for free, if you're gonna donate them anyway, giving it to someone for free, what's the loss? Also, as you're cleaning, if you're not doing the buy nothing or the donating and all those sort of things, but I guess that's all kind of in one, is sort things appropriately. What's going to your buy nothing group, what's getting donated, what's recyclable, compostable, and just trash. Sorting appropriately and making sure we're not just bagging up all of these things and tossing them to the landfill. I've seen that happen a lot in decluttering videos, and we don't love that. So let's make sure that's not happening. And in the same vein, as you're decluttering things, also keep in mind that you personally can give things a second life for your neighbors. But like being able to reuse or upcycle items that otherwise would be thrown out is a really cool thing to think about, like as you're decluttering, to be more eco-friendly. And for hard to recycle items or hard to donate, reuse, whatever items, I have a whole video, I'll link it up here, about 50 different ways to declutter more sustainably. It's a couple years old. I'm not sure if everything is still applicable there, but it's a really good jumping off point, a really good way to start thinking about things. There are specialized programs out there where certain places take back certain things and make sure they are recycled. For instance, I know that Ulta and Nordstrom right now have beauty product drop-offs, things that are hard to recycle in your curbside or aren't accepted in your curbside. They'll take them back and recycle them. And I think programs are worth mentioning when we're talking about decluttering, because making sure things aren't going to landfill is like one of the most important things when we think about eco-friendly decluttering, right? Another thing I've learned over the years is to keep every piece of fabric and turn it into a towel, okay? You will never need to go buy new towels if you keep your old towels, like clothes that don't work great, the different hand towels and things that you find around, just keep them all together, because in a household where you're not using disposable like paper towels or disposable really anything when it comes to cleaning, having the more like towels that you can is super easy, because you don't have to think about running out, you don't have to worry about it, you just grab them as needed, put them in the washer as needed. My pro tip is to keep them all together so that you know where they are, everything has a place, and then you have so many of them that you never have to worry about running out. You never have to worry about switching to disposable single-use items instead. So you just have enough of everything, and my personal pro tip is to just put them straight into the washer. I don't even have a bin for towels and rags and things like that. They just go straight into the washer, and then the next time we're washing our clothes, they're all just there, and they just all get washed together. Speaking of washing, wash on cold. The majority of the energy used in a washing cycle for your clothes is used to heat the water, and it doesn't help kill any additional bacteria or things like that. The temperature of the water is not what's doing that, so just wash on cold. It's also better for your clothes. Speaking of full loads of laundry, full loads of dishes, better for the environment, they use less water. Also, when we're talking about washing clothes, hang drying is the way. Whether you do it outside, inside, whether you have like a rack or you just hang it somewhere in your house, hang drying is not only more sustainable because it uses less energy. I personally have experienced it being a lot more gentle on my clothes. Like my clothes last a lot longer when I'm not putting them through all of the like intensity that is tumble drying. But if you have a partner who refuses to hang dry things, like maybe I do, maybe I do, I definitely do recommend dryer balls. They do make silicone ones, they do make wool ones. I have wool ones, but if you're opposed to wool, there are silicone ones out there. And this just basically helps move your clothing around more and helps the dry time go down, which I have personally noticed, but it also can help prevent static, which is what single-use dryer sheets are for. So dryer balls, I recommend. Okay, I'm looking at my list, and these are like little tidbits that I thought of towards the end of making this list that I'm gonna tell you about. So number one is reusable gloves have been a game changer for me, especially if I'm cleaning something that's like a little bit more icky, if you will say, like if I left my Keep Cup in my car for like 2 weeks. Baking soda on carpets and fabrics like furniture, it's a game changer, especially if you're getting rid of synthetics in your cleaning routine. It's so nice to refresh things with just baking soda, leaving it on for a while, and then vacuuming it up. And speaking of vacuums, that's another thing that I have on here. When it comes to buying anything like cleaning tools, look for good warranties, quality, because I recently got an ad on TikTok for this vacuum that was bragging about being so much cheaper than the Dyson. And immediately red flags in my head go off, and it's like, yeah, but like, how was this made, and how long is it gonna last, and does it have any warranty or repair abilities and all those sort of things. And so it's really easy when the marketing ploy is, hey, this is cheap, you should buy this instead. Like, that's all there is to it. But I find that especially when we're talking about like bigger purchases like a vacuum, it's better to look into things that will last longer than just to buy the cheaper thing, because I say in the long run, but it's not even that long of a run. If the things are only lasting a few months, which is when I asked in the comments what people were replying to me, saying that they bought that vacuum and it only lasted them a few months, that's not even that long of a run to it to be saving you money. You know what I mean? It makes sense to invest when we're talking about sustainability and when we're talking about saving money and just like overall usability to make sure that you're buying things that will last longer. Oh, and one of my favorite cleaning tips to save money and that just looks like aesthetically better and is like better for your health and cleanliness is just fuck sponges. Fuck sponges. They suck. They go disgusting like so fast. You also have to like touch it when it's wet and like gross. I just don't understand why anyone is still using sponges instead of brushes. And the bamboo wooden, I think they're made of like wooden Cecil, compostable brush heads that you can switch out. That's like still one of my favorite zero waste swaps. The heads are completely compostable and they last for so much longer. They're so much less gross and they're better for the planet. And they'll save you money because you don't have to toss them. What's recommended, I think, like every few weeks. So yeah, those are my tips for keeping your house clean and decluttered in a more eco-friendly way. There are probably things that I missed, but I sat down and made this list and I feel like these are the things that if you implement, it will make the journey to a more sustainable cleaning routine easier. So send this to someone in your life that you think needs an easier, better, cleaner, more frugal cleaning routine. I'm gonna be sending this to my mom. Let me know who you'll send this to in the comments. And another huge thank you to Neoplants for sponsoring today's video. There's a link at the top of the description if you wanna check it out and get 1 month of those power drops for free when you buy a Neoplant. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye guys.